Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy. What's up, my people? It's that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday show.
Presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today.
Today, our badass guest is Nate Brown, Navy SEAL, 6 years of service, Petty Officer Second Class. He founded the Coming Home Project in 2022. You can catch him on Instagram, and to take a deeper dive, go check out thecominghomeproject.org. Brother, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Been waiting a little bit to get on this with you.
We've tried a few times now.
Yeah.
It's funny how all this modern technology, and it still throws us for a loop to where we can't get things going. And so I'm super happy to have you on, man. It's always really nice too. Like, I try to infuse myself every single day with talking to a team guy, and people are like, you talk to a SEAL every day? I said, every day. It fills my cup because we just get each other. And so I'm super stoked to do this with you. I want to dig into, obviously, you're Navy SEAL, check next. That's absolutely badass. I'm still a huge fanboy of Navy SEALs. I don't care that I did it. I am still a huge fanboy, and I always will be. And so maybe for another time, we'll talk about your career. But for right now, I'd like to start off with your transition out of service. You do something that takes so much time and effort and thought to getting into, and it's very hard to make it, and it's very easy to exit. What was your transition like?
My gosh. The transition, I think it was no different than most guys. It was a pretty painful piece moving on from the teams. It was a really interesting time. So I got out just before everything kicked off in 2001. Literally,
Okay.
literally right before everything
Wow.
kicked off. And you remember the old school teams. You're hitting the same targets. You're doing the same stuff. You're wondering where that Golden Connex box is, man. You're like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to it than this, man. And I just kind of got bored, and so it just felt like it was time to move on. And then balloon goes up, everybody's going out the door. So I kind of lost my shit, really lost my shit because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to move on. It was just one of those things that just felt right at the time until it wasn't. And so next steps were between going back in, which I started processing back in, and then I got a call for one of those other government projects, and wound up moving on over there, which kind of set me on my path where I've worked another program for another 8 years, and just kept me deploying until couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
So kind of got my fill there. Felt like I contributed, completed what I set out to do. And when I was done deploying, I moved over, did 11 years with the Orange County Fire Authority as a firefighter paramedic. They started collecting broken down SEALs until I found out that they could they could only get about 10 years out of us before they start replacing parts. So we're not a cheap investment, is what they found out. And I did 11 years over there because they wound up replacing a couple parts, and they were like, "Hey, you probably got to move on," and which turned me over to the foundation that I have, and allowed me to dig into the foundation, the Coming Home Project, full time. So now that's where all my dedicated time goes to.
Interesting. Well, so you get out just pre 9/11, or actually pre-war kicking off, and I know the deal. Even no matter when you get out, you still always have one foot still in the door. Like, all right, I'm going to try this out for a couple of years maybe, and if it don't work, I'm going back in, because it's such a hard thing to separate from. And during your time of separation, obviously you went into another governmental role, so you kept on the straight and narrow because it didn't give you time for an idle mind. But did you deal with any demons during that time?
The in-between process? During the in-between process, I was in absolute terror at home. Absolute maniac. I didn't know where I fit in. It felt like the civilian population. I didn't belong here. But at the same time, it felt like I was stagnant over at the teams, just because I was talking. What I had mentioned about, pre-war teams, man. It was just, it was kind of a wash, rinse, repeat, man. Do the same thing every single day, man. So yeah, I was going through it, man. It the war actually, kind of saved my life, because I think I would have self-destructed, man, had I not been thrown into a role of such intensity, man. I wasn't ready to sit down.
I say the same thing that you just said. I did 8 years all during combat time, and I had an interesting deal to get me out early, and I took this to take a job that didn't end up working out. But I think that that whole scenario was God stepping up and saying, "Hey, man, it's time for you to get out," because I was already derailing
Yeah.
and I couldn't see it. And it's such an insane environment, right? You're like, you move so fast, so hard, and that becomes your new normal. So you don't understand what it means to dial down. And then all of a sudden you're out and you're like, holy crap. Like, I don't have to shave today. I don't have to get up early today. I don't have to do anything. And then that's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, a day or two later, you're like, this sucks. There's no accountability here. And I've been basically spoon fed my accountability. And now I have to create it all myself. And I think that's a big reason why we become destructive, is because we don't have accountability. The other side to it is we have no mission, no meaning or purpose. And therefore, a lot of guys take it down the road that I have personally taken down, which is not a good one, until we get on our feet and find guys like you who have actually gone past your traumas and actually have stepped into the role to help guys out on the back end. So, it's what I love hearing though is it's like, even though you had that stagnation, you got back into it pretty quickly. You went and moved forward, had a career in government, did action stuff overseas, and then after that, a firefighter, which near and dear to my heart. My grandfather was Detroit fireman, 1946 to 76. And what's interesting about fire service is you talk about the greatest generation, World War II guys, and he used to always pride himself on the fire service, even though he was a World War II vet. And I'm like, man, that's got to say something right there. The greatest generation, he's like, firefighters where it's at. And on top of that, what's quite funny is when people meet me and they get to hear, like, you were a Navy SEAL. It's like, yeah, I know I don't look like one, but yes, I was. And they're like, wow, cool. And I'm talking to firefighters and they're like, did you say your granddaddy was Detroit fireman? Yeah. They're like, well, I don't give a shit about that Navy SEAL stuff. Tell me more about your granddad. The firefighters want to hear that stuff. And it's so awesome, man. So, love the fire service, just a truly servant's job right there. And I think guys like you who are, firefighter, EMS, paramedics, you see more shit and deal with more trauma than any other service in the world. I don't care if you're special operations, you're in military or whatever. The trauma that EMS and police or paramedic and fire see is outrageous. Not just because you see a constant amount of it every third day, every second day, whatever the shifts are, but you're seeing it from your community. You start to know these people. And so, man, my hat's off to you. But here's the coolest thing is you got into a business that you created now, a charity that is doing, ultimately, it's helping people not get into those gray areas, not finding those blind spots completely and getting through them and getting back to homeostasis. And you founded the Coming Home Project in 2022. So walk us through the process of why did you found it? Like, what is the impetus, the backstory, and then what it is?
Yeah, it's we never went out with the intention of creating a foundation or a nonprofit. It was one of those things that just it kind of naturally happened, because all these guys were coming to see us, and we had no way. Hold on one second. My dog just came out to see me. I need to put her away.
Solid.
I need to put her.
What's up, buddy?
Come here. Come here.
Oh, cutie.
She's awesome.
He can do the interview if he wants.
My God. She's almost 6 months. She's an access level. She's going to be 550 pounds. She's not even 6 months. She's already 80 pounds. All right. I'm sorry about that, man.
No, dude, that's your family, man. If he jumps in, it's all good. We want to keep it nice and easy, dude.
She's super cool. What a sweetheart, man. Oh, all right. So we're saying, how did this all start, right? The Coming Home Project?
Yep. Yeah.
So to come in when we started the Coming Home project, we never set out to start a foundation, right? It was kind of a grassroots thing. It all started probably about 10 years ago. I had a teammate who dragged me to plant medicine. Uh, Knew nothing about plant medicine, never heard the word ayahuasca, didn't know anything about iboga, ibogaine, like all this stuff. Think about 10 years ago, none of us knew about it, right?
No.
And
Yep.
at the same time, I'm still walking around like the 500-pound gorilla, where I got it all figured out, and everybody else is fucked up. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah. For sure.
just fucking blowing everything up around me, man. And I thought life was good, man. But really was extremely self-destructive. And I had a teammate of mine just called up and he said, "Hey, I got this guy that's going to fix us. Why don't you come join me?" I said, "I don't need to be fixed. What are you talking about?" He's just like, "I got this guy, man. He's got this stuff. Guys are going down to Costa Rica, Peru, and they're drinking this concoction, and they're coming back. Even the whites of their eyes look different." And I was like, go fuck yourself, man. I don't need any of your bullshit. And at the time, I was a firefighter. And he just called the firehouse nonstop all day, man. "Come on, man, just come with me. I want to go check it out." And finally broke me down. Called the wife, said, "Hey, I'm going to call in sick tomorrow. I'm going to go with my buddy. We're going to go check out this thing. Has this guy that's going to fix us." And of course, any wife, these wives who have been around in the teams and through all the thick of the shit, they're meaner than we are after going through it all. So her reply is, "You don't need to be fucking fixed. You're fucking fine," right? She's meaner than I am. So he picks me up the next morning, man, and I hopped in the car still not knowing anything about what we were going to do. And I said, "What's happening?" He says, "All I know is he's got a drink. And if he asks you if you want more, say yes." Dude, that's all I knew when I walked through the door, man.
Wow.
Wound up being such a prolific experience, massively prolific. Changed everything. I was one of those guys that cracks open real quick, and changed everything within 2 hours. Everything was different. And when I came out, the first thing you think is, I think we're all the same. We're like, all my friends need this. All my buddies need this, man. And I just, I'm one of those dudes, when I sink my teeth into something, I'm kind of all in. So I went on a deep dive exploring the different plant medicines, the different traditions, the different ways of space are being held, all with kind of an idea of how do I make this available to the guys from, our background? How do we get this into their hands? And that's how it all started. And that was probably close to 10 years ago. When we first started up, you got no language, you got no vocabulary how to speak about it. You're just still trying to find your way through it. And you're going down the Rolodex and you're telling guys, "Hey, I got a drink that's going to fix you." And of course, the guys have the same reaction, the exact same reaction as I had. They're like, "All right, man, you've officially lost your fucking mind." So
yeah.
So you'd have 20 guys who are saying they're showing up, and you might be lucky if 6 show up. But over the course of the years, uh, the cat got out of the bag. And I'm sure it's the same way with you, where we've all become one step removed from somebody who's gone through the process, and you've seen how it changes them, and you felt how it changes them. You're like, "My gosh, I want some of that." So as that momentum picked up, where guys were coming home and they feel different to their friends, they look different, the self-destructive nature that they were living with for years and years have gone by the wayside. They're repairing their relationships with their families, with their friends,
with themselves.
Everything is just happening. So guys just started flooding through the door. And the next thing that came to my mind is, my gosh, it's like a lot of these guys don't have 2 nickels to rub together, because they've gone through years of hardship, right? Because when you get out of the military, you're trying to put your shit back together, trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to make a buck, you're trying to support your family. And we said, how do we take care of this so that we can help pay? And that's how the foundation was started. It's like, all right, man, these guys shouldn't have to be paying for this. If they're hard up on their luck. So the first goal was access, and then the second goal is taking care of the guys financially as to where we can make this available to them, and they don't have to worry about scraping together all that money that they might need to feed their families.
That's legit, man. I want to get into more of that, but I want to circle back to your experience, your profound experience the first time you did this. What exactly did you do? And walk us through some of the higher level things that you had while under medicine that you think changed you, or at least brought you back to homeostasis.
The first medicines that I ever worked with um, were MDMA-esque, you could say. In the space they refer to them as heart medicines, right? Big, big, beautiful heart opener. And then I also worked with a psilocybin ayahuasca combination. So those were the first two medicines that I ever had an experience with. And I think, I mean, looking back and just seeing where I sit today, it was the perfect medicine to open me up. Um, because over the course of the years, becoming the person who I had become, you lose touch with your ability to feel with your heart.
Yeah.
Everything you do in the military and the nature of our jobs and as grown men, everything's very analytical. So everything becomes neck up, where we're analyzing, we're figuring stuff out, and it's the piece that keeps us alive when we're working overseas, right? We got to be able to make decisions in a split second, right? So everything,
That's right.
this becomes our operating system, and as a result, this heart piece starts closing down, which works at a slower pace than the mind. And so I was suffering from the same stuff that a lot of these guys are suffering from. You go home, you hug your wife, and you don't feel anything. You have a new baby, and you're holding the baby, and you're like, I know I love this little guy, but shouldn't I be feeling more? Why am I not feeling more? I got this amazing little child in my hands, and so I was completely disconnected from anything but me, just living in this real heavy mind space. So that to step into the space with something that's would be referred to as a heart opener or MDMA-esque was a beautiful first step for me, and it allowed me to reconnect with actually feeling my heart, feeling love, redeveloping a relationship of empathy and compassion. And so it was a nice knock on the door to make sure that there's somebody home right here. It was beautiful and amazing. And then from there,
Was
oh,
there a
sorry.
specific,
Yeah.
okay. Was there a specific thing while you were in the medicine that you remember that was the most profound piece during that time under?
My gosh.
Some guys can recount stuff and some guys
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh
remember?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember like I stepped out of it yesterday, and the biggest piece was how I was treating my loved ones. It was everybody around me within my blast radius. I treated them like they were a teammate, to include my kids, to include my wife. So you know what life's like, right? In the teams
Yeah,
where it's high level of accountability. We're very rough with each other. We're very direct with one another, but that serves a purpose. It doesn't, that purpose doesn't necessarily bleed over into what's needed in the home.
yeah.
So the destruction that I had created in my home was the most profound thing that came to me in my plant medicine, in my first plant medicine journey. It was the destruction, the disconnection in my home due to a lack of a disconnection, big disconnection in my heart, and it showed me what I had done and walked me down the path of how to repair it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, this is the thing is people keep saying, it's like these aren't traditional medicines. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think these are the traditional medicines, and that we got away from this stuff and went to big pharma and, did the absolute one thing you should not do. And I don't believe in big pharma at all. And since going through plant medicine myself, this is really the key to pausing the spiral from guys, because when dudes are spiraling, they spiral hard. They're so stubborn to begin with as is, even on a great day. So the idea is, how do you smash somebody, mind, body, sound, everything all at once, who has this stubborn rigidity to them in the special operations community? And for a long time, we had no answers. You're like, all right, you have to stop drinking. You have to go to AA. You have to go through this particular course, this group, talk therapy, all this stuff. And you're like, guys weren't getting any better, including myself. And you're like, I'm tired of living feeling like shit. I am so tired of living like I am legitimately burned out every day, to where I'm like, did I work so hard in my short 8 years in the SEAL teams that I'm burned out for the rest of my life? Because that's what it felt like. Like I gave everything up so quickly that gave all this effort in 8 years. And then all of a sudden I'm like, man, I'm burned out every single day of my life. Now there's a new chapter in my life and I can't give it 110% because I ain't got nothing left in the tank. And for me to go through medicine, it paused me from the spiral and it opened my eyes wider, and it really slowed me down for a second. And I was like, wow. And so I always tell people, it's like, there's a lot more acceptance into the psychedelic space now. A lot of people are eager to try it now, but you can't look at it as this is going to fix me from all of my issues all in one stop shop. It is a truly a pause button for you to pause from the chaos, and then also to open your eyes wider to see truly the impact that you're having on others and yourself. And with the time and the work afterwards is what's going to set you apart to moving your life forward, to getting back to where you need to be. And there's just not enough people doing what you're doing in this space. And that's why I'm so excited to share your information with everybody, because it's mesmerizing to me how I'll consistently hear another guy that's struggling, another guy that took their life. We got a call yesterday from a buddy of mine in Army Spec Ops side, and he said that a friend of his took his life in his 60s. And so you think about that, you're like, man, this is across the board. It could be any age, it could be any demographic. It just does not choose one particular demographic. It's everybody now. We're at the most depressive state in the United States that I think we've ever been, or at least close. But the suicide rate is out of control. So I love that you've been open and vulnerable and shared a piece of that with everybody here, because that's really the key for people to actually accept this, to go do it, is to hear stories. Because when you, if you'd have come to me 20 years ago and be like, dude, I got a drink for you, I'd be like, oh shit, no. Like, go fuck yourself, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Like, not interested.
Yeah.
And then now hearing people like you and you talk about it and show the truth and the growth and the change in that, it's like, I got to have that. I need that in my life, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So dig into the Coming Home Project. So you found it. What exactly do you do?
Well, number one, we're a fundraising platform, but we don't do a great job at raising funds. I'm not,
Check.
I'm not a businessman. Um, we're doing a better job of getting our feet under us. I think we have a good circle, and we're really in a position where we're gaining some great momentum. But our strength is access, is providing access and steering guys in the right direction so that they can get access to plant medicine in a very safe, professional space. So that's
legit, man.
that's the biggest part of what we do, is making sure when these guys do walk down that road of plant medicine, that it's done in a very safe and professional space. And we also provide an intake process. So we have a very thorough intake process where, before guys go through the experience, we'll kind of start lightly touching them about 40 days ahead of time to help prepare them, and get them ramped up so that they're ready for the experience so they can maximize it. And then on the back side of things, we do have integration coaches that provide group integrations every 2 weeks. And we have a course schedule that we call the tools of integration, which provide, we have once a week we have a new class, whether it's breath work, yoga, sukshma, sleep hygiene, you know, dietary guidelines. So we're constantly feeding the guys and filling their toolbox with new tools so that they can take what they've learned in the space when they go through this big experience, and they can use these tools on the back end to keep themselves wide open, and to live this new life that hopefully they're stepping into.
There's no question that your intake is insane in a good way, but I actually I sent a guy to you, and I just tell everybody who's listening. So we sent a guy to him, and I had to help get him through all the intake stuff, and it was very thorough. And it's a pain in the ass when somebody just does not want to do that stuff, or scared or whatever it is. And so I got full hand knowledge on what it takes to get into your program, which is not just, hey, sign on the dotted line and come on out and take a chance. It's very thorough, um, which is what we need. You're already doing something that we've heard now is massively intense. Psychedelic therapy is insane. It is really, really powerful stuff and such a blessing. And so to see actual people who take it professionally and really analyze and say, how can we do this better all the time? And, how can we give those tools? Because another thing to this medicine is the medicine is really that pause, right? But that after work is so crucial. The pre-work is definitely crucial as well. But that post work is so important to keep going with this new found life and respect for yourself, and to keep moving it forward. And so I'm glad that you do it in that manner, because it really does. It softens the blow for guys when they come through and they're like, I know that I'm healthy enough to do this, that I'm good to go. We've checked to ensure that you're not on medicines that could have a reaction or a problem. We make sure that you are completely off, and we do everything above board. So it's definitely a comforting thing. I'm very excited to go through your program here shortly. It's going to be absolutely epic. So when they come up to you and they're signed up and they've already done pre-integration or pre-work, and then they get ready for medicine, what is like what does a group look like for you when they show up to you, wherever they show up in their location, which you can all get more information, and we'll put his website up so you can reach out if you want to know more details and sign up. But when they show up to you, what does that couple days look
Yeah,
like?
I'm glad you asked this. All right, because it's kind of what differentiates how this program is run from other programs. So a lot of people know about plant medicines these days. A lot of people have been to all these different circles. So in developing this program, um, I had this idea of removing boundaries in order for guys from our background to receive the medicine a little bit better, right? I call them barriers to entry, right? Because we're very stubborn, right, at how we see the world.
Yeah.
All right. So me being from the Northeast, right? If you got some Irish Catholic kid from the Northeast and somebody comes up, dressed up, in an Amazonian outfit, blowing smoke all over you and everything, you'd be like, this is witchcraft, man. And you're immediately gonna shut down, right? That's how narrow minded we are, right? Some of the guys don't even want to be in the space, it's just like, all right, my friend dragged me here, said it's going to fix me, right? So in building this program, we set it up in such a way to where our goal was to remove what, for all intents and purposes, we call it barriers to entry. Remove the reasons as to why the guy can make up an excuse to walk out the door or just say it didn't work. So when guys come in to work with us, it's kind of a team room atmosphere, right? So you show up.
That's legit.
You show up, and your medicine men aren't dressed like somebody who just stepped off a plane from South America. They look like dudes who are in the team room with you. And even the way the space is held. So the demographic that we work with is primarily veterans. And then we do, we work with first responders as well, but it's all like-minded individuals who are in the room. The courses and the languaging that's used is all familiar. It isn't from outer space. So when the guys come in and they see people who they might have worked with, or guys who look like people that they might have worked with. That helps put them at ease. So
Sure.
that's how we kind of run it, is so that with a team room atmosphere, so everybody kind of feels comfortable. But we also run it in such a way as to where uh, we have guys come in, we get them with the medicine over the course of a weekend, 2-3 days, depending on which program they're attending, and send them on the way with some good tools to integrate it and keep on expanding to when they go home. One of the ideas of building this program out was understanding that a lot of us are work. We have families, we have responsibilities, so we can't take a week off from work just to go and get massages and take cold plunges and and kick it easy while the wife keeps shit together at home. Um,
Yeah.
so the program is set up in such a way as to where you fly in, we get you situated, we work hard for 2 or 3 days, and then we get you back on your way with the tools that you need on the backside.
That speed it's incredible. I mean, that definitely is a killer for most people, is that they're just like, I can't find a week or two. And
Yeah,
I'm like, I get it. And I said, but there's no better time than the present to actually do the work, no matter what is going on. And you have to, if you're tired of living like this, you need to put the time in. You need to go after it right now. But to have a condensed schedule to where you get in, you get the work done immediately, that's huge, because that's what we're there for. It's fun to coke and joke with everybody, minus the actual cocaine. Um, I have no idea. I'm talking to my ass, never done it,
yeah.
but it is fun to move around with those guys. But it's better to get in there immediately and start doing the work, because that's what they're there for, is healing. And I love that. I mean that. So walk me through it. I show up to you. I'm in your course. What do the 2 days or 3 days look like?
If it's a 3-day course, we'll pull guys in typically on weekends, right? Because guys are working, and we want to interfere the least amount with their normal schedule. So if guys are coming in on a Thursday, we just kind of get together. Sometimes we'll do a fire ceremony on a Thursday night. We might have a guest drummer or speaker come in just to kind of break bread, get the guys comfortable, level them out a little bit, bring them on down. And then on Friday, we hold 2 to 3 classes and slowly introduce them to the medicine and the process. So we teach them about the medicines, we teach them about the processes and how to work with the medicine when they're inside the space, build up, and uh, and then Friday night's go time. So that second night, that second night is go time, where we work on where we go in on medicine, uh, and depending on the medicines that we're working with, the experience is typically anywhere between 4 to 10 hours, depending on what medicines, how long, how well they work with the medicines, and how much they consume. With our program, we use a specific protocol with our program. So, and there's a method to the madness, because we were talking about the barriers to entry, right? The barriers to entry with all the guys. So for years, and it's kind of a formula that works really good, is those heart medicines, the MDMA esque medicines. They are absolutely prolific for guys from our background. It's the only synthetic. It's the only synthetic that any of us work with, but it is absolutely prolific. And the reason is, that discussion we were talking about, where we work it from a very fast-paced head space, in our backgrounds, and we've lost connection with our heart. So the way I kind of explain it to everybody who comes in and is doing work with us, I kind of put it in military terms, where it's just like, all right, I could start you out with ayahuasca tea, all right, which is grandmother. It's the big player, right, in the space. You hear about iboga and you hear about ayahuasca. Those are kind of the two big players in the plant medicine space. I could start you out with ayahuasca, but I refer to that almost like the explosive breach. And guys from our background get it. It's just like, yeah, we can blow the door off the hinges, man. We can blow the door off the hinges, man. But you know what it's like to sit behind that breach. It's like, there's gonna be some dust on the other side, man. There's gonna be some pieces, and it's gonna take a little while for the dust to settle. So you might wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, I feel different. I feel different, man, but I don't know exactly what happened. All right. Cause it takes a little while for the dust to settle if you don't have a relationship with that medicine. So rather than just blowing the door off the hinges, what we do is we kind of walk them in. So the way I explain it is we knock on the door first. So a little knock on the door, the knocking on the door of the heart. MDMA is a beautiful piece, man. Knocks on the heart space and allows you to see whether or not there's somebody home. So, and a lot of the military cats are just there's nobody home in the heart. They're not in touch with that heart space. So that heart medicine will just kind of start ripping it away and allowing them to rebuild that connection with their heart space to feel, to bring in the love, compassion, empathy, and everything that we've been missing over the course of the years. And at the same time, what it does is it kind of pulls them out of the head space, that ego space, gets them communicating from here. And then the next medicine that typically goes on board is a psilocybin ayahuasca combination. Psilocybin is, it's an easier plant to work with. It's a little more predictable. But adding the ayahuasca vine to the psilocybin, what it does is kind of deepens, widens the experience, brings in the intelligence of the ayahuasca, and allows you to access some places that you typically wouldn't be able to access with straight psilocybin. So rather than just blowing the door off the hinges night one, what we do is we get you grounded into a place, the place of communication that we want you working from, right? Because all the communication in medicine space is done throughout the heart. And what we do is we get you communicating from here with the MDMA. Once we know that we got you there, then we start widening the door into the spirit space and opening it up so that you have access to all the deep shit that we need to peel back from. And that's kind of the method of the madness of the medicines that we work with. So night one experience, we knock on the door, widen it, get you a great, big, beautiful, amazing experience with a lot of profound knowledge, wisdom, understanding that you can take with you. If we stepped straight in with ayahuasca, we'd have to work with a smaller dose. With people who have no plant medicine experience, you'd have to start with a smaller dose because you really have to introduce them to the plants and build it up over the course of time. So because we have limited time with guys, it's just like, all right, how do we get max effect over a short amount of time? It's just like, all right, crack them open, bring them to the big experience, let them develop a relationship with the medicines and how to work in the space. And then night two, blow the door off the hinges with the tea.
When they go through this program, day 3, after they're done with that side of the house, are you back at it? Can you get back into your reality of life, or do you need some downtime?
Um, I mean, ideally, if we all had the ability to just go back home and kind of sit around in some silence, that'd be best. But you know, 95% of the guys or more, they return to their jobs on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
So there's very little time that they need. But we do go through um, an integration process where we give them the tools to understand of how they're going to be opening up over the course of time, because these plants are very powerful. If you give them the space, they'll continue to work for a month, right? So sometimes it can be inconvenient, and you might know this yourself from your experiences. I mean, you might be sitting in front of your boss at work and you just start breaking down crying for no reason, or you're sitting with the guys at the table eating and you just start crying, and it can be inconvenient at the time. So it's very important as they walk out the door that we teach them, hey, these are some of the things that are going to happen, and here's how to deal with it. And it takes a lot for some of them, man, because they're like, I don't want to fucking cry in front of anybody. It's just like, hey, brother, that's part of the process. If you shove that back down, we're going to be dealing with it again. So we teach them how to process it. Go find a quiet space, cover your eyes, listen to your journey music, let it out, so that you don't have to deal with it again, and move on, man. But we do a great job at giving them the tools to understand how to work with these emotions, with these threads that have been plucked up while working in the medicine space, so that they can fully remove them, so they don't have to deal with them again in the future, man. But like you said, it's a process. It's an absolute process. You go through these you go through, and these medicines, they give you wisdom, they give you knowledge, understanding, they give you the tools that you need, but on the back end, it's about your follow through that determines the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. There's no question about it. Are they all in the same space during medicine? Everybody together?
Yeah. Yeah. We run it as like a team room, man. You know, you get your brothers to the left of you, and you get your brothers to the right. And you know, I've worked with, you know, private groups, small groups, bigger groups, and you know, I could say probably everybody works might work better in a bigger group, but I can say specifically our demographic we're meant to work in as a group. That's how we spent our career, um, and that's kind of how we operate. So we do work in a group, anywhere from between 5 to 20 man groups. It might sound kind of big, but they're very powerful, and they actually allow guys to open up a lot deeper than they would if they were, you know, working in ones or twos. Because what happens in that space, as you probably know, is we start sharing our energy, we start sharing our emotions, and everybody becomes deeply connected while we're working in that space. So you might have somebody who's in a deep piece of grieving. You might have a guy across the room who hasn't cried in 20 years. He might not have cried when his mom passed away. Well, what you've done is, through your grieving, is you're now sharing it with that guy who doesn't know how to grieve anymore. So you might help him heal in that way. So it's very healing for guys to all operate together.
That's legit, dude. Absolutely legit. Um, you only do veterans and first responders, or how does that work?
Primarily, we do men, if the kind of like-minded men, you know, kind of we know our wheelhouse, right? So
Yeah.
we know our
Yeah.
wheelhouse, we know our demographic. The facilitators that we work with, we know who they work best with, man. And it's guys from our background, because when we set out to create this program, you know, ultimately, and we're getting there, is we want the guys taking care of the guys. So our ideal picture was a fellow veteran, a fellow special operations guy being the dude who holds the space and does the work, does the energy work, the shamanic work for the guys. That way we've, you know, I've been there. We've all been to the same place. We've all been to a place that we're familiar with, rather than having an outsider who's taking care of us, who doesn't understand where we've been from, where we come from. So yeah, we work with guys primarily. Um, well, let me take that back. Kind of get sidetracked a little bit. We do take care of female veterans, but we do take care of female veterans, but it's on a much smaller scale. So there's a couple facilitators that we do work with, that we do send the female veterans to, um, the wives, and Gold Star moms, or widows. But we have access to those groups probably about twice a year. Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
I'm sorry.
That's
I kind of
legit,
got
man.
sidetracked, man, because you know, my personal work has been with bros. Because you know,
Yeah, for
I got
sure.
no room being in a space with those women. Those women need a different touch than we need as men. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense, man. So if somebody's interested in getting with you to actually, go through your program, what's the easiest way to get in touch? Is it becominghomeproject.org, or how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can get in touch with us through the cominghomeproject.org. They can send us a questionnaire. They can send us request some information, or they can go through our Instagram. They can message us through Instagram, which is Coming Home Project, through there. So that's the best way for anybody to get in touch with us.
Okay. And your rate was really interesting to hear. It was actually very digestible. What are your typical rates per person?
As of right now, they're $450 per night per person. So if somebody comes in for an entire weekend, it's $900. And we do that. We do that because we need to keep it as cheap as possible so that these guys can get the healing that they need. If there's somebody in financial need, um, we have partial assistance all the way up to full assistance. At the end of the day, man, we don't turn anybody away. If they're a candidate, they're safe, mentally and physically and medically for medicine. If they are a candidate for medicine, we will not turn you away. Doesn't matter if you don't have any money, man. The dudes need this to be accessible, and that's our goal.
It's legit, man. So, and you take the protocols seriously, but what are some of the things that would actually, like, say I'm a vet and I really want to come through the program, I'm struggling and I had a massive opioid addiction, or I'm on drugs, or I can't stop drinking or whatever, like, and I take SSRIs or whatever, like, what are some of the things that they cannot be doing, or things that stop them from even getting a chance to go through the program? Because it's very important that guys like you make sure to make that mention right out of the gate, so people know, like, okay, I've got to clean up before I go. These are certain things that will counteract or work negatively to and could potentially kill me if I'm on while doing medicine. So what are some of those things that guys need to know coming into this program right out of the gate?
Right out of the gate, the first thing you look at is their medical history, right? So any major medical problem, if you have somebody who's got any type of cardiac, stroke, seizure history, we have to rule them out for a safety point, or bipolar or schizophrenia, which you typically don't see in those diagnoses in guys our age, right? That's typically in men. It's diagnosed earlier. Those are immediate no goes for the program, unfortunately for us. And then the medications, we take it individually. Everybody's required to fill out an intake packet, but any type of SSRIs, SNRIs, any psych meds, those are all no goes. And then you have, because they interfere with the serotonin in a big way. And then of course you got your onesies, twosies that can kind of interfere with it. But we typically do a pretty good job at walking them um, off the medications that are going to interfere with it. But big no goes: SSRIs, SNRIs, psych meds. Those are the big no goes for ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is really really safe, a really safe medicine, and you can guide people in pretty good. Those are the no goes. What was the other question that you had about go no go criteria? Um,
Yeah, drugs, alcohol, like things that
yeah,
they need to taper off.
yeah. Drugs and alcohol, street drugs. You know, it's understandable. Alcohol, if we can at least get a couple days. If somebody's got a real hardcore booze problem, I mean, if we can get a couple days, we're happy to get that. Opioids, kind of the same thing. For opioids, if somebody has like a real hardcore opioid uh, issue, ibogaine, iboga is probably the best call for that, in resetting them for that. Um, Recent data has shown that ayahuasca might be the deal if they got a benzo problem, an issue with benzos. But all these plant medicines help pull the guys off any type of substance abuse. But for the most part, if we can get a couple days, but that's why we start the intake process 40 days out. Because if we start 40 days out with anybody, no matter what you're taking, as long as you're truthful and you're honest, which is another reason why we work with veterans, because the guys usually, they'll give it to you. They'll be like, all right, man, here's what we're on. That gives us enough time as to where we can slowly get them to a space as to where they're safe, so that where they can step on in. And
Yeah,
for the guys who have,
that's
and for the
legit,
guys
man.
who are having a hard time uh, getting off some of the SSRIs and SNRIs, um, we'll refer to them to ketamine therapy or something, because that's almost like it's a good medicine to kind of hold them over and get them, kind of hit that pause button if they're in a real self-destructive space, and it buys them time so that they can get off some of the medications that might be very difficult for them, so that they can come and sit with like real natural plant medicine.
Wow, that's it's legit, man. Yeah, this is all new to me. I've never done any of these forms of psychedelic therapy. but incredibly interested. And like I said, I'm definitely going through the program. We're going to push this out to everybody and make sure to let you know and direct people to you. And you said you're not a businessman, yet you're running a business. And we're all very humble about how we actually do it, but we actually get very intentional and we bust our ass. So what are some other ways outside of going through your therapies that people can support and help? Do you need donations? Can they donate on your website? What other things? Do you have events? Like, how can people get involved and help you?
We're not in a position. We don't have the manpower or the time right now um, to run big events, galas, or anything like that. We're just not there. So the biggest thing that we're looking for is our cash donations. Cash donations, which we
Okay.
got to donate. We got a donate button on the website, on the Instagram. It'll take you to where you need to go to donate. If anybody's got any type of business, if there's somebody out there that's shit hot on running businesses and can walk us through crowdfunding or anything like that, we're you know our doors are open. Any type of assistance that we could get from anybody, but right now it's about cash, just so that we can get guys the support that they need, because we run kind of on a real tight budget, man. And the dudes that are working with us right now,
Yeah.
it's all dedication and time, and it's just an energy thing, man. You can only put out as much as you allow yourself to refill the cup. So
Yep.
we get some guys who are just teetering teetering on less than half full right now because they work so hard.
Hmm. The It's good to know on the business side. I know we can connect you with some guys there to help you plus up and get some more financial coverage to help people out. Um, this is all pretty legit, man. It's nice to hear this because I know that it's become such a prominent thing where there's a massive waiting list for a lot of different organizations to send guys through specific types of psychedelics. And, it's a true testament to like it's working and it's real and it's now becoming a bigger topic that people are dissecting and digesting. And I love that. But then this waiting list stuff has really become a problem because when you need it the most, you got to have it right then and there. It's not, I need to wait a year or 2 years to get through these programs. And it's no fault on the charity that is in that predicament. It's a great problem to have, but it's a problem that needs to be figured out. And so for you guys, I know you're busting your ass and you're always running around doing new programs and, helping guys out. So we're going to connect you with some guys that can help you on the business side and the structure of that stuff. And then if you've listened to this, I would ask you to consider two things. One, make a contribution. You go to thecominghomeproject.org and make a contribution of any size because it really does help guys. There are a lot of vets and first responders that really do get themselves into a dark space to where they have thrown all their money at alcohol, maybe drugs, in silly places to where they have nothing left. And if they don't have financial capital and they need help, the we all know how that could end and how it ends for a lot of people. So we can't let the limiting factor be, can they afford a $900 treatment for a weekend to actually get that pause button going and actually help them see the reality of what they're doing and to help them start to sort themselves out. So I would ask you if you can, we're getting close to the end of the year, final contributions for the year, end of the year giving. If you could make a donation of any size to the cominghomeproject.org, that would be wonderful. Secondarily to that, if you have any business skill sets and you want to take a stab at helping this nonprofit out to help Nate push this thing forward and expand it and grow it. Obviously, he said he needs the help there. The other side to it is educating yourself on what the Coming Home Project does. Go to the website and learn about it because you might not have any issues. You might be doing awesome. You might be past that point. You may never have had issues, and God bless you for it. But you also might be that conduit to say, well, I've got a friend who's really struggling right now. And when they need help, you can have the answers to say, well, I got to help him. I've got an actual answer for him instead of saying, let me see if there's something available. Well, there are. By educating yourself, now and you might be the person that sends your friend to Nate to go help them on their path towards their recovery and their journey towards better life. So educate yourself, make a donation if you can. Any help you can do with business, or if you're looking for a charity to sponsor from your company or for an event, they're definitely open for it as well. And, you know, when you learn about psychedelics, if you're one of those people who don't know enough about it and might feel like it's not for you, or it's, you don't agree with it, do the research and study. The sheer number of veterans who are going through these programs, who are getting help today and coming out on the back end a better person, the more real version of themselves, is an explanatory enough to know that there's something real happening here. And these are the traditional medicines. This is not the bullshit medicines that big pharma is trying to throw down our throat. These are the real things that were grown on this earth, that were put here by God to use to help us heal. And we're supporting veterans and first responders who do these hard jobs every single day, and they torture themselves to take care of others. And at the end of the day, they forget themselves. And so this medicine really helps them connect to themselves again. So it's real deal. I'm living proof of it. Obviously, Nate is as well. And you have now heard it, that we have thecominghomeproject.org, where you can go support, go through the program, get in touch with him. And if you have any other questions, you can go to thecominghomeproject.org or reach out to Nate on Instagram and ask those questions and get involved. So, man, before we close out, I always like to ask this one question because it's flipping the script. So we know that you were a SEAL, and you have to be motivated to do something like that. You also did some, we'll just call you James Bond stuff after that, and then became a firefighter, paramedic. And so you've done all these wonderful things, these awesome, legit things. Who is your hero and why?
Who is my hero? Or who was?
Who is your hero and why?
Well, I mean, these days it's Christ. These days it's Christ. Jesus. Took the roundabout way to get there, but it's Jesus. Selfless, giving, gave it all back to mankind, without a doubt. I mean, that's kind of an easy answer. I don't know if it sounds corny to people who are listening, but yeah, Jesus Christ. If you asked me 10 years ago, it would have been David Lee Roth. Yeah, things have changed since then, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Van Halen for you. So, here's the thing. What I've loved is I've been doing this show now we're coming up on probably close to 4 years. And when I used to ask this question, it was always a teammate or a parent, which are they're well and great. And I have my teammate heroes and I have my parents' heroes. But recently, within the last 8 months, it seems like everybody's turning to Christ. Everybody's been saying that same thing. And it's like, it's music to my ears. It just warms my heart, because I can't remember a day when we actually did a true prayer while I was in the teams, getting ready to go on a mission or whatever. We didn't talk really about God, and you don't walk away from him, but you just certainly don't practice, and most people that I knew didn't really have a relationship, or we're not trying to have one. And now we're all seeking that. And that's really, and the medicine helped me even get closer there. So that's awesome to hear. That's there's no better hero. That is for sure, man. Like, when you have that, you have everything. So super happy for you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, big time. I've been waiting to connect with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person, man. Big time.
Oh, for sure. I can't wait to meet you and then vomit all over you and crap all over you, because that's my MO under psychedelics. So, that's my jam. Purge, baby. Now I appreciate what you're doing, man. It's like you're a servant 100% through and through. You've never stopped serving. And, I kind of do a lot of self-realization, because I find myself bitching about something that somebody else is doing. And I'm like, by the end of the day, that's getting me angry and frustrated. I'm like, Jesus, like, why do I even care what they're doing? Like, I need to focus on my shit. I'm bitching because I have the problem, not that person, no matter what they're doing. Focus and reflect more on me. But what I realized is that I joined at a young age, went to war. I finished up that job. And then when I moved into the civilian sector, I immediately got involved in a nonprofit, started running a nonprofit and growing it. And I looked, and up until 3 or 4 years ago, everything that I have done as an adult has been trying to serve other people. And what that ended up doing for me is completely cleaning my tank out, to where I used to say it's given me what I needed to survive outside of the military, and that what it's done is it's drained my soul. And it's not a bad thing. Like, I will help anybody. That's just one of what God's talents given me, is to try to help everybody I can, but I have drained myself doing it. And I never knew what it felt like to love myself ever. Because as a kid, you don't think about that stuff. You get in the military, you're fighting for a bigger cause than yourself. You get out, you're running a nonprofit that's for other people. I never gave myself a shot. And that's what plant medicine did for me the first time. Was it showed me, like, man, you got to give yourself a shot here, dude. You've got to fill your own cup up. And the love that I felt for myself on that first go around right after was just like so powerful that I said, man, I feel great. And a buddy said, no, you feel normal again, but you have forgotten what it feels like to be normal. And I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. And so it is absolutely wonderful. And that's when I learned, like, I know nothing, and I got to keep studying and continue to grow as a human, because the older you get, the more knowledge you consume, the more you understand you know nothing. So thank you for what you're doing, brother. We'll push you out to everybody. Keep doing this, because you're going to heal a lot of people and help a lot of people and save a lot of lives, truly. And there are very few and far nonprofits out there that are actually doing very, very fast and powerful action steps to help heal people. And it's very, very needed these days. So God bless you for what you're doing, brother. And it's just an honor to be your friend.
Right back at you, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And I really look forward to seeing you in the near future.
Frogman.